refuse to watch the World Series today. I refuse to watch the Dodgers lose. So instead, I am streaming. If the Dodgers are winning, I will go watch the last hour of the World Series. Can you accept such? No, I will not accept such an outcome. If the Dodgers are winning in 2 hours, I will go watch the game and I will end stream. But for now, I am protesting by reading LOTM. No, they need to win, dude. We're not even doing intros. You know who it is. You know we're here to read. I think I scared my dog screaming, so I am going to let her out of the room. And let's just read for 2 hours minimum. And if the Dodgers if the Dodgers lose, we keep going. But if the Dodgers are winning, the stream ends. And then if the Dodgers are winning, the stream will end in 1 hour and 40 minutes. That's all I got today. Oh, look at him move a little bit. I'm sorry. Did I scare you? Did my screaming scare you? I'm sorry. Oh, wow, my voice cracked. I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to scare you. Okay, let me let her out. Let's get reading. We're just gonna read and pray to a miracle. I hope Shohei Ohtani prays to every mommy deity in LTM for some fucking home run. But I'll just shut up. Let's just read. Let's just read for now. Let's see what happens in an hour and a half. Chapter 1294. The music is a little bit too loud for me. It's called Conservation. All right, let's raise this up a little bit and let's get to it. If that demigod creature didn't slam into the devil's oil painting on it, oh shit, wait, hold up, Force ascended. If that demigod creature didn't slam into the devil's oil painting on its own accord, I'd have to summon Mr. World's historical void projection. I wonder if that can be considered as directly hiring and helper at the angel level. As Forrest pondered, she drank the potion. To her, the potion was like icy water that could hurt someone due to the extreme temperature. All her senses vanished in the air as that it passed, leaving only her still thoughts. Serious music? This works. This is good. This is good music right here. Man, I am so mad watching the game. I already got lost, bro. We're only 2 minutes into our recording. To her, the potion was like icy water that could hurt someone due to extreme temperature. All her senses vanished in the air as that it passed, leaving only her still thoughts. It was inevitable that a person would hallucinate in extreme cold temperatures. In Forrest's vision, a night sky instantly appeared. It was dotted with countless stars that weaved together to form a dream-like river. Forrest and OBS is crashing, but I think we're good. Music change at the end. And the ancient palace above the fog. Got it. Ancient palace above the fog. Forrest's body began reflecting bits of stellar radiance as if they came from her own body. The tiny bits of pure stellar radiance formed an invisible connection with the different stars in the night sky. As the light shimmered, they twisted and squirmed, and insect-like creatures crawled out of Forrest's body. They wanted to seek refuge in the Milky Way formed by an array of embedded diamond shades. Each of them carried a potion of their own flesh and consciousness, as though they were uncontrollable avatars. Forrest's thoughts quickly turned chaotic. As she fell into confusion, she almost couldn't control the urge to separate herself. At that moment, she sensed an illusory object. It was the seal that she had completed using the devil's oil painting. It was projected into the mysterious world creature by the potion, forming an abstract, blurry mark. Forrest didn't think further as she instinctively extended a portion of her consciousness along with her spirituality and interweaved with the abstract symbol. The mark wasn't extremely harmonious with her, as if there was part of her, but it managed to barely merge with her. Suddenly, in Forrest's mind, the abstract symbol became rather clear. It consisted of a door that was led with... I'm sorry, is Mr. Door gonna make an appearance? Or, like, what's going on here? That was led with mysterious symbols. This door hid Forrest behind it, allowing her to isolate herself from the surrounding cosmos. At the same time, on the outside of the door, the sealed creature seemed to sense the aura of an enemy. Using its own godhood, it wildly corroded the illusory door. It happened to be able to reduce the influence that the cosmos had on Forrest. I'm sorry, is Forrest helping her? Is Forrest helping her? Is Mr. Door helping Forrest? At this moment, a deep darkness appeared in front of doors. Deep in the darkness was a perturbable storm and occasionally flashing lightning. The next second, Forrest heard a familiar voice. It stepped into... Oh, shit, it is Mr. Door. It stepped into her head like steel nails, stirring her brain matter. Forrest grimaced immediately. If she had experienced such things over and over in the past and had some level of resistance, as well as the fact that she was at the saint level, she would have likely lost control. Of course, there had to be some influence of good luck here. After a few seconds, she finally managed to calm herself down and hear what the voice was shouting by using cognition. It was calling for help. So Mr. Door is calling for help. No, not the creature she just... Oh, okay, the creature from the oil painting. Got it. Okay. It wasn't Jotun, Elvish, or Ancient Hermes. Instead, it was a language that Force had never come into contact with before. However, she could understand it in the moment she heard it. She felt like it was a true source of many languages. Mr. Door would crazily shout for help every full moon. How disgraceful of a Kings of Angel. However, even if he's seeking help, it's still a terrifying thing that I can't withstand. Force lampooned silently. She was considered if she should pretend not to hear it and wait till she had converged her spirituality and grasped beyond her powers of a secret sorceress before conversing with Mr. Door during the next full moon, or to do it now. Probably not. It's probably best to wait. Suddenly, the shouts from afar stopped and the surroundings became deathly silent. After 2 to 3 seconds, a wispy voice that could pierce through the spirit bodies entered Force's mind. You use the beyond characteristics of the Abraham family. This sentence was said in a flat manner without any rise or fall, but it made the blood vessels on Force's forehead throb. Her eyes turned bloodshot as her body turned resplendent. She almost lost control of herself. Who are you? Oh shit, man, you gotta hurry up. Even Queen finished up. Who's Queen? Hey, I know, man. I'm sorry. I wish I can go longer, but I think I am gonna take a few days off in November. I think November is gonna be the 24-hour stream, guys. Yeah, I think November is gonna be the 24-hour stream. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be hype. Watch, it's gonna happen. This sentence was said in the flat manner without any rise or fall, but it made the blood vessels on Force's forehead throb. Her eyes turned bloodshot as her body turned resplendent. She almost lost control of herself. Who are you? Force composed herself and asked deliberately. The voice that seemed to lure her into losing control said in a low, smiling voice, "You can call me Mr. Door. You should be familiar with me." Oh shit, hold on. We gonna make it happen. The Kings of Angels from the 4th epoch directly pointed out that Force had a certain connection with him. She could hear the full moon ravings. I'm going to write you into a novel. Force secretly gritted her teeth and asked, "Honorable Mr. Door, are you the ancestor of Abraham family, Your Excellency Bethel?" The voice that had crossed countless barriers returned to its flatness. "Yes, Your Excellency Bethel." "Then do you know that your cry for help has caused the entire Abraham family to be trapped into a curse that had lasted for more than 1,000 years? It's basically impossible for anyone to become a traveler or even a scribe. They often lose control during advancements, or on the night of the full moon. Force felt that she couldn't speak to Mr. Door for a long time. Otherwise, her inclination towards losing control would be irreversible. She directly posed a question that Abrahams were most concerned about. Remember when we thought she was going to die back then? Mr. Door fell silent for 2 seconds before saying, "They no longer have secret sorcerers or demigods. They're..." Oh shit, my mic is naked. Hold up. Gotta put the mushroom top on. "There aren't any after the War of the 4 Emperors, and the curse you brought has made it impossible for them to advance to demigod. If you can stop crying for help for 10 years, a new Abraham demigod might be born. This would greatly aid in your escape." Force sincerely suggested, like, "Yeah, bro, you gotta stop fucking crying, man." Mr. Door sighed and said, "I have been exiled to an eternal darkness and suffered the blockage of a perpetual storm. I have no way to know what's happening in the real world, nor did I expect that there isn't a single demigod left in the entire Abraham family." He's like, "I didn't think you guys would be so weak." Lies. The one who calmly made this conclusion wasn't Force, but rather Klein, who had accommodated the Fool's card as he held a staff of stars while sitting in Teferi Castle. Had been closely monitoring the corresponding Crimson Star. He remembered that the Emperor had mentioned in the diary that Mr. Door had a certain understanding of reality. He seemed to be able to use the changes brought about by the full moon to see the situation outside the seal. Easy spitting on the naked mic. I know, yeah, we gotta chill, man. We gotta treat her nice. I'm sorry. After sighing, Mr. Door continued, "Besides, I can't control the cries for help during the full moon." "Why?" Force asked in surprise. Mr. Door said in a ethereal voice, "You're already a demigod, so you should know very well that the higher sequences, the greater the threat of going mad. An ordinary angel, even those who can walk the lands freely and do what they like without needing to engage in any additional battles, could also be gradually influenced by the beyond characteristics and become less like themselves. They might even enter a half-crazy state. I'm a king of angels who had been exiled and sealed for more than 1,000 years, and I don't even have someone to communicate with. My not going crazy means that I'm sufficiently powerful and lucky." I don't know how lucky, though. "On each full moon," amazing emoji by the way, "on each full moon the madness in me will be strengthened. I can't control it and can only constantly call for help." So that's how it is. If I were locked up like this, I might have gone crazy in a few months. If I'm not provided alcohol, newspapers, magazines, and all kinds of books and various delicacies, I can last a year, no, half a year. Force nodded in enlightenment and asked in a perfunctory manner, "Is there anything I can do for you? How can Abrahams dispel the curse?" I'm sorry. Mr. Door comes back. Holy shit, Mr. Door's gonna be in book 2, right? He comes back, and then he's gonna be like a side character in book 2. Watch. Mr. Door fell silent for a few seconds before saying, set up a ritual and help me escape. That way, the curse will cease to exist. There are 2 rituals that can be used. One is to sacrifice the 3 demigods that are respectively from the Seer, Apprentice, and Marauder pathway. The other is to extract the blood of at least 99 Beyonders from the... They're all dead, bro. So we cannot use that option. The other is to extract the blood of at least 99 Beyonders from the Abraham family. Use it to draw such a symbol. I'll tell them, Force immediately replied. At the same time, she added inwardly, that's if Mr. Fool permits it. Mr. Dort laughed and said, if I can escape because of this, I will help you become an angel. His voice became more ethereal and weaker, as though he was slowly returning to his original state as Force's advancement came to an end. About 2 to 3 seconds later, Force couldn't hear the sounds that slowly pushed her onto the path of losing control. The deep darkness and horrifying storms in front of her also vanished. However, before the scene and completely faded away, Force could vaguely see that on a vast land formed from dark red rocks, there was an ancient building that resembled a pyramid erected there. Behind the building was a deep darkness and twinkling stars. It was completely different from the cosmos than she had seen as an astrologer on the ground. What's this? Force shook her head and controlled her scattered thoughts, and she began to carefully rein in her spirituality back. And in the ancient palace, no, I remember, ancient palace above the... Once we switch back to Sephira Castle. After getting accustomed to the state of a secret sorcerer, she immediately took on her praying posture and reported the previous experience to Mr. Full without missing anything. After doing this, Force put away the Devil's Oil painting, teleported back to Prince Harbor, and met her teacher, Dorian Gray Abraham, who was waiting in the warehouse. Seeing that, oh wow, it really is at the very end, huh? Seeing that his student was safe and sound, Dorian heaved a sigh of relief and said in the pious manner, thanks to Mr. Fool for his blessings, he had finally taught of a sequence for sorcerer who didn't show any signs of betrayal. He's probably so happy. Due to Mr. Fool's lack of response, Force didn't inform her teacher of her conversation with Mr. Door. She planned on waiting until the next full moon. She also relaxed and said, apart from thanking Mr. Fool, I have to thank you, teacher. In the ancient music change. We're playing this banger again? Well, hold on. It's been a cool minute since we played this. In the ancient palace above the fog, Klein didn't have any doubts about Mr. Door calling himself half crazy. He only felt that there had to be more secrets hidden in the matter. For example, let me raise the volume. What's up? For example, why did Mr. Door keep enticing Emperor Rizzo to visit the moon? It was a place that was occupied by an outer deity. After some thought, he took out the Scarlet Lunar Corona and Master Key from the Fog of History. He planned on creating a full moon environment and listening to Mr. Door's shoutings. He can do that? The effects of the combination had long been confirmed. Klein quickly heard the voice that seemed to pierce through the spirit body. The content of the shouting was, don't save me. Do not save me. Wait, what the fuck? I thought the whole point for 1,000 chapters that we're supposed to save him. So what he's actually saying is, don't save me? Why not? Oh yeah, so let's keep freaking going. Don't save me. Oh, wait. Can I do a spoiler? No, I won't read it. Hold up. Don't save me, which means it's probably plot chickens. Hold up. I don't want to read chat just yet. If he's saying don't save me, and he's, what was it we said he was being controlled? It's by the cosmos, right? It's probably what it is. There's probably an outer deity that's either controlling Mr. Door or pretending to be Mr. Door. So the real Mr. Door and the fake Mr. Door are in unison. Fake Mr. Door saying save me, and the real Mr. Door is saying no, don't save me, right? Oh, that's like some Full Metal Alchemist shit, bro. When they're like behind the door. Oh, that's pretty hype. All right, let's keep reading. Chapter 1995. The aftermath from the war's front lines. Don't save me, don't save me. Being located in Sephira Castle and having accumulated the Fool's cards, Klein already had the statuses of a king of angels. He no longer suffered any direct eruption from Mr. Door's cries, but the contents of the cries made his scalp tingle, his pupils dilated, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of horror surging in his heart. He originally believed that Mr. Door was constantly shouting for help, but what he had heard now was, do not save me. Amidst Klein's silence, the weak, wispy voice pierced through his spirit body like needles. After shouting for more than 10 seconds, it suddenly changed. Help me? What the fuck is... What is he saying now? Help me, help me? Don't save me, help me. Which is it, bro? This time, there was a certain change in the language used. Klein expressionally leaned back into his chair and listened for nearly 10 seconds. Following that, he removed his control over the Master Key and Scarlet Lunar Corona's historical void projection, allowing the atmosphere of the space above the Great Fog to completely return to silence. Phew. He exhaled as he tapped the edge of the long model table out of habit and muttered to himself, Mr. Door is indeed half mad But the mad part of him isn't him who is desperately screaming, but him who appears calm. The one that's able to communicate with people rationally. The latter can influence the former to a certain extent, distorting the contents of his shouts. The latter part of him that's mad is the one that's distorting the contents of his shouts. Was it? Mr. Door is indeed half mad, but the mad part isn't the him who is desperately screaming. Oh, that's a different part of him. Whoa, two personas? When Mr. Door is lucid, he actually shouts, "Don't save me," to a king of angels who has been in prison for more than 1,000 years. This definitely isn't a normal reaction unless he feels that he will bring a disaster that he... Ooh. He is him? Yeah, lowercase he is actually capital case him. Unless he feels that he will bring a disaster he doesn't wish to see upon return to reality, a king of angels has completely lost control. Together with Mr. Door's communication with the Emperor and how he had been constantly enticing him to visit the moon, which is occupied by an outer deity, this is another possibility to this matter. Mr. Door, who is exiled, lost the protection left behind by the original creator. He encountered the corruption of a particular outer deity and lost most of his rationality. His condition is only slightly better than the chain god. The apprentice pathway can wander the cosmos at sequence 3. Mr. Door's honorific name also includes the title of Guide of the Endless Cosmos. This means that before the Kings of Angels was exiled, he might have already made contact with outer deities and came under some influence. Yes, what does Miss Magician's final glimpse of the... I was about to say Mr. Magician this time. Yes, what does Miss Magician's final glimpse of the Crimson Land pyramid-like building in the cosmos in a different area represent? This doesn't seem like it's the current solar system, but it's a little different for the mausoleum that the Black Emperor needs. It's the lair of some outer deity who affected Mr. Door, or should I say that when Mr. Door became a planeswalker and left the legends behind of the outer planets with living beings, this is one of his anchor points. It's highly... This kind of confused me. Hold up. This is one of his anchor points. It's highly likely the latter because when Miss Magician saw the scene, she didn't encounter any corruption from the cosmos. The more Klein thought about it, the heavier his heart became. This was because it was possible that this was a reflection of how the apocalypse could dawn. Oh, shit. The apocalypse was definitely not something that wouldn't happen by not thinking about it, pretending not to know. It's no wonder Yellow Light Venithan had prophesied that the day when the curse is removed... Whoa, tongue twister. I just slurred that word. That the day when the curse is removed is the beginning of a true disaster for the Abrahams. Mr. Door... Oh, because it's brought about by Mr. Door? Mr. Door keeps calling for help, causing the Abraham family to be unable to produce another demigod. Perhaps it's a certain form of protection. Oh, you killed them to save the few. You kill the mass to save the few. Although this will make the Abraham family lose their status as more precious items, making them mediocre, it can at least save their bloodline. Huh. In the prophecy, the solution to resolving the curse in the hands of the apprentice who had obtained the help of a secret existence, Klein chuckled softly and had an idea about the response to give to Miss Magician. He planned on getting forced to give half-truth when informing her teacher, bruh, Secret to the Apprentice ritual is such a trap. It's kind of insane how, like, fucked up this world gets. The more you read. It's kind of like the more you read, the more you realize all odds are against you, you know? Firstly, it was to emphasize that Mr. Door was already half crazy and extremely dangerous. Even communicating with him implied tremendous risks. Secondly, it was not to mention the second ritual for the curse removal. All she could say was about sacrificing of a seer, a marauder, and apprentice demigod. With the first point, the Abrahams could understand why their ancestor was insistent on calling for help. This was because he had already lost his mind and could do all sorts of terrifying things. This could effectively eliminate the anxiety of the Abrahams, preventing them from helping Mr. Door escape and allowing them to quickly start believing in the fool. The second point was to dispel the small number of extreme Abrahams who wanted to try their luck. This was because they lacked the ability to complete such a ritual. At the same time, informing the Abrahams of the ritual increased the trust they had enforced, ignoring the small number of secret sorcerers available. Those who can become a bizarre sorcerer are definitely very difficult to capture. Furthermore, most of them are concentrated in the secret order. To deal with them is to provoke Zaratul. Even if Abraham have a demigod and can use a grade 0 sealed artifact for a short period of time, it's impossible for them to complete the ritual so easily. Yes, dealing with Parasite is the most dangerous. If they aren't careful, they might end up targeting Amon's avatar. When that happens, it will be equivalent to serving Amon's desserts. Also, I'll use the world's German Sparrow in the future to remind Miss Magician to keep her guard up against the Abraham family extremists. Klein thought for a moment before replying to Thor's prayers. After returning from the fog of history into the real world, Klein boarded a steam locomotive and arrived at the capital of Mitzir Shire. In the past, it was the second largest city in Lowen and also the front line of the recent war, Constant City. What is it now? The damage suffered here is very serious. After getting off the train and leaving the platform, Klein stood up high and looked at the industrial city. Although it was his first time here, he had seen all sorts of pictures of Constant in newspapers and magazines. Those photos were all black and white, and they recorded the various aspects of the city. Among them, there were 3 points that left a deep impression on Klein. Firstly, it was filled with chimneys and tall blast furnaces. It was as though it was a man-made forest. It gave a striking visual impact, one that was more resplendent of the industry than Backland. Secondly, the majority of the buildings used concrete and steel. They were more densely built than their counterparts in Backland. Thirdly, there were many places that were stained with coal ashes, including the bodies of humans, but the air quality was better than Backland because the sea breeze was strong. And now the towering blast furnaces, chimneys, and tall buildings had become rather sparse. All that was left was for a pile of ruins. However, in comparison, the damage dealt to the factory district was lesser than the residential areas. This is because there were many steel and military factories that were equally important to Facek. The death toll here is definitely more than 100,000. Klein sighed inwardly. Can't change the music back to regular series ones. This was because there were many steel and military factories that were equally important to Facek. The death toll here is definitely more than 100,000. Klein sighed inwardly. He carried his luggage and walked down the stairs to the steam locomotive station and entered Constant City. On the way to the hotel, he continued acting as a miracle invoker and randomly choosing a young, burly man in his 30s. I'm a wandering magician. My best magic trick is to grant anyone's wishes. Do you want to try it? The previously thin-skinned Klein was now able to strike up a conversation naturally. The burly man glanced at him and waved his hand impatiently. Can you let my father, mother, 2 brothers, and a child be revived? With that said, he didn't wait for the magician to respond. As he walked towards the nearest public carriage station in the slightly irritable manner, he struck his left chest with his right fist. Klein stood where he was and maintaining the smile on his lips as he quietly watched the man leave. He recalled a magazine that had read on the steam locomotive. It contained several pages of images reflecting the current state of each cemetery in Constant City. The tombstones were similar to the original chimneys and blast furnaces. The racks that held up urns of ashes resembled the buildings that had collapsed. The entirety of Constant City seemed to be buried in a cemetery. Wow, it's a huge graveyard. Retracting his smile, Klein walked around that already dried up fountain and walked to a nearby inn. Along the way, he heard many pedestrians discussing haunting places and the places with terrifying monsters. When I was passing by Marias River, I heard a lot of people crying in the water. I didn't dare to look and ran back into the city like the wind. Ooh, speaking of the wind, I am excited to play where the wind meets. Right? Oh my god, the new game that's coming out. That's nothing. I saw something even scarier. The 9th Hyacinth Street. I cannot pronounce that word. There's a face plastered in the window there, a very pale face. A few passerby disappeared behind my house, and the blood continued all the way to the nearest ruins, but the police couldn't find the bodies. How terrifying. May the goddess bless us. Holy Lords of Storms, let these ghosts and monsters stay away from us. By the way, City Hall had posted an announcement that we are to report to the police the moment such things are discovered. From the looks of it, the meat grinder-like war made it impossible to placate many corpses, allowing them to turn into ghosts. Most of the time, some of the dead might not even have their bodies left intact. Yes, there are definitely many beyonders who lost control due to a mental breakdown or from losing their limbs. Also, most of these who didn't consume... Oh, I skipped a page. Who didn't consume the potion according to normal procedures are easily lose control. The Nighthawks and mandated punishers will definitely clean up these matters, but at least in Constant City, people might have encountered plenty of Beyonder matters for quite a long period of time. After all, some ghosts and monsters are good at evasion and hiding. They are innately very cunning. Klein walked straight and gained a new understanding of Constant's situation. Here, encountering supernatural events were no longer a coincidence. Instead, it was a daily occurrence with a certain probability. That's fucking scary. I forgot about that. Yeah, if there's that many people dead in the world of Beyonders, fucking GG. At this moment, Klein saw a group of Nighthawks wearing red gloves and a black trench coat walk across the crossroads ahead of them. However, he didn't recognize any of them. Indeed, the Cathedral Serenity had sent the Red Gloves team to help. What's happening nearby? Klein nodded indiscriminately and, following his spiritual intuition, cast his gaze to a particular apartment building behind a pile of ruins. On the 4th floor, behind an oriel window with a greatly rotting face was plastered by the window. Oh, the pale face. Oh no. Rotting face was plastered to the window. Looking out through the glass, pale yellow liquid with black hints slid down the window one after another. I'm sorry, what is this? Amateur astronomer. All right, next chapter, dude. Let's see what happens. I'm joking. Like, which one of you guys is looking out the window, huh? Which one of you is looking out the window like that, causing the red gloves to show up, dude? I'm sorry. I joke. That was a mean joke. I take that back. I'm sorry. Eric had to become a captain of the Red Gloves team during the latest stages of the war, as well as advancing to sequence 5 Spirit Warlock. I'm sorry. Who is Eric? Dodgers. Shut up! Are Dodgers winning? I will end stream right now. What is the score? I guess I will be watching the game in an hour. He had witnessed the deaths of ex-captain and ex-ex-captain. He knew... Oh, from Volume 1. He had witnessed the deaths of ex-captain and ex-ex-captain, and he knew that higher sequence wasn't guaranteed that he would be safer. Care and caution was what mattered. To the elite Red Gloves of the Nighthawks, this was a concept that almost everyone believed in. This was because ordinary Nighthawks might only encounter ordinary problems that looked like supernatural events. Occasionally, there would be slip-ups, and it was highly likely that they would rely on their beyonder powers to turn the situation around. As for Red Gloves, who worked on various important cases, their hidden targets were definitely rather dangerous. At that moment, Eric stood on the 4th floor on the apartment of 14 Priya Street, facing the tightly shut dark brown wooden door. He surveyed the area and said, 2 Nighthawks have already gone missing. We must not be careless. Initially, several residents of this apartment block reported it to the police. They claimed that Unit 403 had a stench about the tenants at Unit 303 often heard heavy footsteps from above. The policeman in charge of the area took 2 days before coming to investigate. However, they didn't walk out of Unit 403. After the police confirmed this, it immediately transferred the case to the Church of Evernight. However, 2 Nighthawks who came to deal with it had also disappeared. Oh. Nighthawks are disappearing? The door to Unit 403 remained tightly shut. I'm sorry, what's the door from The Shining? Wasn't it 403 or 413? Due to this premise, the Church of the Evernights Archbishop of the Mid-Sea Shard Diocese entrusted the matter to Eric's team and allowed them to apply for a Grade 1 sealed artifact as support. Yes, Captain. The members of the Red Gloves team either nodded or spoke in response. Eric didn't say anything else as he stood in front of the dark brown door in Unit 403, which remained tightly shut. He raised his red glove left hand and knocked on one of his teeth. A blurry figure suddenly appeared in front of him as though it had no substance to it, passed through the gap in the door and entered Unit 403. Eric's expression was unusually focused, as if he was observing the situation in the room through the blurry figure. It was a natural spirit that he controlled. It wasn't especially powerful, but it had special abilities. It usually lived on his left front tooth. A spirit that lives on his left front tooth? What the fuck? Under the current situation, Eric believed that there shouldn't barge in directly. It was best to do reconnaissance first. Even his team had a good mix of powers and a powerful sealed artifact to help them. They had to be cautious. If he couldn't figure out the situation, decided to prepare it for the targeted fashion, he believed that things would be much easier. Right at that moment, tiny blood vessels protruded in Eric's eyes, and some of them even exploded. When his vision turned bright, Eric had a very heavy creak. The dark brown door suddenly opened. There was a total of 6 figures in the room. 3 police officers who wore black and white uniforms. Nighthawks? Or Nighthawks dressed up as police workmen? They were sitting on the high back chair, high stools, and the sofa. 2 of them were wearing half-top hats, black trench coats, one of which was standing by the door. The other was standing behind the oriel window. His face was pressed to the surface of the glass as if he was watching the streets downstairs. There was also a figure sitting on the high stool at the edge of the balcony. In front of him was an exquisite astronomical telescope. The skin of the 6 figures began to swell as though they had been injected with gas. I'm sorry, are they looking at the cosmos and that's what's happening here? Some parts of the body have even cracked and were highly decomposed, but they still hadn't dried up. They exuded a bluish-black, glistening as light yellow liquid with hints of black flowed out. Sensing the door open, the 6 figures turned to look at Eric and the others. The first was the Nighthawk standing in front of the door. The last was the man wearing a cotton shirt behind the astronomical telescope. He had one of his eyeballs. It was black-white, separately clearly, glued to the telescope lens, allowing him to only use his remaining black empty socket to scan the Red Gloves team outside. What the fuck is going on? A faint stench drilled into the noses of Eric and the others as the indescribable coldness filled the surroundings. Is it because, I assume because the seal is broken, now they're like directly looking at the cosmos rather than like a concealed version of the cosmos, and that's what's going on here. Eric instinctively, like they're getting affected by it. Eric instinctively raised his hand to his teeth, released more spirits, then he used the Nighthawk beyond powers to forcibly drag all his targets into a dream. However, no matter how he tapped his teeth, he didn't release his soul. His spirit warlock beyond powers seemed to have vanished instantly. At the same time, a nightmare and the Red Gloves team also discovered in surprise that we were unable to pull someone into the dream. At that moment, a part, maybe, could be, it's probably what it is. Come on. At that moment, apart from the enhancement in their physique brought by the potion, their beyond their powers mysteriously vanished. Leave this place, Eric ordered without hesitation. He had never encountered such a strange situation before. All he could do was get the team to retreat first before choosing the sealed artifact to handle the situation in a targeted manner. However, he and his team members didn't move despite his orders. It was as though their bodies were no longer taking orders. Eric instinctively lowered his head and looked at his lower body. His legs were swollen and his... Oh shit, shut up, no. His legs were swollen and his pants were torn. In addition, he could clearly feel that his skin was decaying, rotting and running with pus. He and his Red Gloves teams had yet to truly come into contact with their targets, but they had fallen into a nightmare of watching themselves die, swollen rot bit by bit with no way to escape. No, it's not GG. No, hold up. Klein saw them, so he's gonna come in right now. He's like, make a wish. He's like, wish for me to save you, and I'll save you. Right at this moment, Eric's bloodshot eyes reflected a normal palm. He had the handle and gently pulled it. Thud. The dark brown door of Unit 403 closed once again, separating Eric and his Red Gloves team from the creatures in the room. They instantly regained control over their bodies. However, their legs seemed to have suffered significant injuries. It was little difficult to move them, be it raise their feet or bending their knees. Eric didn't bother checking on his injuries. He quickly cast his gaze on the palm, closed the door and its owner. It was a young man wearing an ancient hat and a long black robe. His facial features were ordinary, making it impossible for one to have a deep impression of him. It was a face that one forgets in seconds. I sincerely advise you to return now and leave the matter to the Archbishop of the higher-ranking Decons to handle. Of course, you have another choice. That is to ask me to grant a wish. I'm a wandering magician named Merlin. What I tell you, he was gonna come out. I was like, maybe it's another wandering person. No, it's Merlin. I'm a wandering magician named Merlin Hermes. My specialty is granting the wishes of others. Klein spared no effort in enticing others to make a wish. When he saw the rotting face of the Oriole Winter earlier, he suddenly had an ominous feeling, so he specially came over to confirm what had happened. There you go. Grant wishes. Eric recalled the education he had received during his training in the Holy Cathedral. A high-ranking sequence might be in a state of being imprisoned or sealed. They would pretend to be mythical items that can grant wishes, and they will entice you into helping them escape. The corresponding examples include granting 3 wishes and wishing pools. Is this a high sequence beyonder? But he doesn't look like he's imprisoned or sealed. Eric's looked left and right and deliberated for a few seconds before probing. If we don't ask you to grant us our own wishes, will you not resolve the abnormality in the room? As soon as he finished speaking, he saw the wandering magician who called himself Merlin Hermes fall deep in thought, looking a little troubled. He's like, yes, but no. A few seconds later, Klein raised his hand, struck the tall top hat. He smiled inside. Even if you don't make a wish, I will still attempt to resolve it. Do I need to read your honorific name or your true name to have my wish granted? Eric asked after examining glances with his team members. Klein shook his head. No, just tell me your wish. This wouldn't create a mysticism connection. Eric probed in a joking tone. Then I wish the abnormalities in the room will be resolved and will no longer affect the surroundings. Just like that. Klein curled his smile and gently clapped his hands. Your wish will come true. Without waiting for Eric to respond, he smiled and said, the abnormalities inside can surpass the beyond characteristics, causing the corresponding powers to be ineffective. But that isn't absolute. Typically, in such cases, my suggestion is ... As he spoke, Klein reached out with his left hand and took out an eyeball-shaped glass ball. He then twisted the handle in his right hand, opening the door a little. Then through a crack, he threw the glass ball into Unit 403. As the glass ball flew, it constantly absorbed the surroundings light and gave off a brilliant, pure, extreme sunlight that resembled a miniature sun. My man is just cleansing them. Holy shit, dude. You can't just say perchance. Did I say it wrong? Perchance? Could it be perchance? Yeah, we could say that. The next second, Klein closed the door with his right palm. Let Eric and company's eyes couldn't take it. My suggestion is to use a grade 1 sealed artifact in the sun domain to purify the entire area. While saying that, Klein recalled the mutated sun sacred emblem behind Tinchin City, China's Gate. Although it was only a grade 3 sealed artifact, it could still deal with the rotting creatures inside given enough time. Just as Eric was about to say that they had brought a similar sealed artifact, but just didn't have the chance to use it, he saw Mr. Merlin Hermes open the door to Unit 403. The 6 figures inside had vanished into thin air, and different beyond characteristics were slowly condensing. The originally cold and sinister stench had been completely melted by the warm feeling. It's been resolved, Eric asked after some hesitation. Klein shook his head with a smile. No, the root of the problem is still here. Have you investigated the owner of this place? Frag out, frag out! Do you guys remember playing COD like at 2 in the morning back in the day with all your lights off? And then you throw that flashbang, and then like it actually hurts your eyes, like IRL. I'd be like, frag out, and I'd be like warning my friends, watch out, frag. Like, turn on your lights. Eric replied immediately. He called himself John, an amateur astronomer. He likes to study the cosmos using specialized telescopes at night. Studying the cosmos. Klein's like, Klein walked into the room without batting an eyelid, and he casually instructed, search the area and find any possible clues. For some reason, Eric suddenly felt that Mr. Merlin Hermes was the captain from back when he first... Oh, man. I'm about to fucking cry. Oh, instant tears. For some reason, Eric suddenly felt that Mr. Merlin Hermes was the captain from back when he first joined the Nighthawks. He was professional, calm, and trustworthy. He nodded at his team members, signaling them to follow his instructions. As for him, he continued following Klein. It was both to provide him help and also for necessary precautions. Klein ignored him and swept his gaze and approached the exquisite astronomical telescope. Then he bent down and drew his eyes towards the lens. This might be dangerous. Eric had planned to warn him, but he fell silent when he thought about how high the other party levels and statuses expressed. At that moment, through the telescope, Klein saw a resplendent, dreamlike dark night sky. Every star there was blinking slightly. Suddenly, his vision occupied by a huge eye. The eye seemed to be directly attached to the lens on the other end of the telescope. It was a grayish-white with pale yellow irises. Veins swelled outwards and seeped out disgusting translucent pus. So gross. It's just so fucking icky and yuck and... Ugh. I feel like if I read this a lot younger, if I was a lot younger reading this, like if I was in my teens reading this shit, I feel like I'd be grossed out reading this. I feel like I'd probably start reading it just because of like how gross it gets at times. But chapter 1129 is called Forest of Miracles. Klein is casting a Forest of Miracles. Okay. Boom. I'm sorry. Am I reading Chainsaw Man? Are we watching Chainsaw Man? Is it the Bomb Devil arc? Boom. Sorry, I had a burp. The Red Gloves Captain Eric shivered involuntarily as he saw Merlin Hermes, who claimed to be a wandering magician, explode behind the telescope. Blah! Just like that. However, there was no splouting blood or flesh. The shredded limbs disappeared into the air like soap bubbles. Eric and his team members who looked over due to the commotion were stunned. They didn't understand the reason behind such a sudden sequence of events. A second later, Eric said in a deep voice, retreat. He wanted to evacuate his team before the danger truly spread. At this moment, another figure walked in from the open door of Unit 4-3. It was none other than Merlin Hermes. Merlin, no, GG? Nah, he's okay. At this moment, another figure walked in from the open door of Unit 4-3. It was none other than Merlin Hermes, who had just exploded. The wandering magician was wearing a tall hat, a long black robe, as if nothing had happened. He spoke to Eric and his team members. The root of the problem really is from that telescope. As he spoke, Klein walked to the balcony and tapped the telescope with his right hand. Another bang rang out of the telescope, suddenly shattering into metallic points of light that emitted a foul stench of bluish black gas. The moment the grayish-white fog appeared, the stench vanished and the room returned to normal. What exactly happened, Eric forced himself to forget about the other party's death and asked cautiously. As a captain of the Red Gloves, who was rather experienced, he had some guesses about the truth of the matter. The main goal of asking was to seek confirmation. Klein smiled and said, simply put, the telescope muttered for some reason, causing the owner of the room to see something that he shouldn't have seen, i.e. the cosmos. If you want to understand more details, you can only search for the clues yourself. I'm not too sure either. Eric nodded slightly and cast his gaze at the team members, signaling for them to continue their investigation. After a series of work, Eric said to Merlin Hermes, there aren't many clues left in the room. We can only confirm a few things. 1. John is a local resident and he served in the military during the war. It seems that he had some mental problems as a result. 2. He had been an amateur astronomer. At the end of the war, he joined an academic organization known as the Celestial Research Association, but we didn't obtain any information about this organization. 3. John was seeking the way to see the true cosmos, and he figured it out. Upon mentioning the word cosmos, Eric paused slightly as though he had received a warning from the upper echelons of the Church of the Evernight. He joined an organization known as the Celestial Research Association after the war ended. I wonder if there's a connection between Celestial Research Association and celestial being. I don't know where else should I go with that. I'll shut up now. Sought the way to see the true cosmos. Klein combined this knowledge with experience and had a certain level of confidence in the matter. He nodded and said, you should know that cosmos means danger. You can't even try to understand it. We will report this case to the archbishops as soon as possible and classify the celestial research. I wonder if this has some connection to the celestial worthy of heaven and earth. Celestial Research Association. Celestials. I wonder if there's a connection here. praise the door, and we will keep praising. See what happens. And classify the Celestial Research Association as dangerous organizations. Eric said as if speaking to a Nighthawk superior who wasn't directly in charge of him. Klein didn't respond as he walked to the door inside. Indeed, war really does have an irreversible impact on all aspects. After the fall of the god of combat, the already crumbling barriers set of the primordial one lost parts of its aspects. As for the Evernight goddess, oh, this is a long chapter. She had yet to fully gain control of the corresponding uniqueness. As for becoming a great old one, who knows how much longer this will take. Under such circumstances, the intrusion of the outer deities into this world would naturally deepen. This had combined with the damage that many ordinary people had suffered from the war. Klein suspected that during the subsequent period of rebuilding after the war, many cults that pointed to different outer deities or cosmos would appear secretly in Lowen. If he allowed them to spread their faith and attempt various risky attempts, the apocalypse would definitely be brought forward. As he sighed, he walked out of Unit 403, his figure blurred, transparent until he disappeared. In a hotel near Priya Street, Klein, who had long since moved in, picked up the coffee in front of him and took a sip. Taking advantage of the fact that it was still very early, he went out once again and took a carriage to the outskirts of the coastal Constant City. There was a cemetery. The stone table stood erect like a short forest. Klein walked through the cemetery and found a tombstone with the help of spirituality. The name of the tombstone wrote, Welch McGovern. Welch? This was the original Klein's unit. Welch and Naya from Volume 1? The name on the tombstone wrote Welch McGovern. This was the original Klein's university schoolmate. As he had bought the Antigonus family notebook, he had mysteriously died in Tingen. Wow! Very first chapter? Whoa! That's crazy. This had indirectly caused Zoe Mingri to transmigrate. Welch McGovern's father was a banker and are we getting more on them? It's the OG gangs. It was the OG trio that we never got because they died so early on. This would have been the inevitable OG trio if we were to follow like shonen tropes. It would have been like Welch, Naya, and Klein. But Cuttlefish killed him. My man broke the, what's the word? He broke the norms of the three team gang. Welch McGovern's father was a banker in Constant City. He had spent money to bring his son's corpse back to his hometown and buried it in the cemetery. Wow. Klein stared at the photo of the tombstone for a few seconds. He bent down and placed the bonnet. Wow, I'm getting a little teary-eyed. He bent down and placed the banquet of white flowers in his hand in front of Welch's graves. As he was about to turn and leave, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. 20 to 30 seconds later, an old man with a black cane walked. Oh, it's his dad. Walked over from another direction. Klein recognized him and knew that he was Welch's father. He was a Mid-Yorkshire county banker who had once invited him and his schoolmates to a sumptuous meal. Oh, what the fuck? However, compared to a few years ago, this gentleman had aged significantly. He was originally a very energetic middle-aged gentleman, but now his hair was half white. There were many wrinkles on his eyes, mouth, and forehead. Who are you? Welch's father looked at the stranger in front of the grave. He asked Paul to worry. Klein sat and said, Mr. McGovern, I'm Welch's friend. Oh, man. I'm Welch's friend. I just happened to pass by Constant City recently. Welch's father nodded slightly and said in a deep voice, he's a very sociable person. I only know a number of his friends. His words were an attempt to explain why he had invited Klein to the funeral and how sorry he was. Klein didn't say anything else as he looked around and said, is there anything you need help with, or do you have any wishes that you wish to have fulfilled? I hope I can provide you with some strength. Welch's father looked around and smiled bitterly. Can you allow all the dead here to stand up again? It's not impossible, but they will be different from what you have in mind. Klein sighed as he shook his head. Then can you allow Constant to return to its original state? Welch's father asked with a bitter smile. Without waiting for Klein's reply, he sighed to continue. There's no need to provide any help. I can achieve what is possible myself. If it's impossible, then I can only pray to the deities. As he spoke, the banker went past Klein and walked to his son's tombstone. He bent down and put down the bonnet. Oh my God, I can read. The bouquet. Why can't I read? He bent down and put down the bouquet of white flowers. Klein looked at his back and muttered to himself, I will try my best. With that, he turned around and left the cemetery. And we never see him again. Constant sitting in a bar with a style that resembled the previous centuries. A man donning a thick jacket carried his beer and walked to a wooden board beside the bar counter. He tried to find a part-time job on the notices pasted on it. Suddenly, he saw a strange mission. I'm a reporter. I want to gather all kinds of stories from different people. It's best if you had personally experienced it yourself. The remuneration I can provide is to satisfy your wish and repair the rebuild of your house for free. I have sufficient resources in this aspect, Merlin Hermes. The man subconsciously frowned. He felt that his request was too strange, like it was a prank. Can you read the words on it? A thin man A thin man who was sitting beside the wooden board took the opportunity to ask. Few patrons of this bar were illiterate. Even if they wanted to find a job or accept the corresponding commissions, most people were unable to understand the notices of the wooden board, and the bartender could only remember a few with the highest pays. As a result of the situation, the thin, feeble man replied on the common lowest terms. He learned at the free schools that provided the corresponding interpretation at a quarter pence. This was how he made a living. The man shook his head, indicating that he understood lowness. He pointed at Merlin Hermes' request and said, "Is this real?" "It is." The reporter is sitting by the counter. By the corner, the one wearing a very tall hat, the thin, feeble man enthusiastically pointed to him in the correct direction. The reporter had promised him a quarter pence for every person he introduced. The man holding the beer fell silent. After hesitating for a full 10 seconds, he walked to the corner and found the reporter named Merlin Hermes is a reporter. Merlin Hermes. "Will you really help me rebuild my house?" he asked wordily. Klein pointed the documents on the small round table and said, "We can sign a contract. There's no need. Even if you provide some materials, I'll still be very satisfied." The man sat opposite Klein and said rather cautiously, "I don't have a very touching story. As long as it's real enough." Klein nodded slightly in encouragement. The man looking down and stared at the table. "I'm a constant native, and I used to have a decent job. I bought a terrace house along Lutwig Street, Low Tide Street. Later, war broke out. My house was reduced to ruins during one of the bombings. My eldest son, the child who just entered primary school, was buried inside. We have no choice but to rent a 2-bedroom room until the Phasacians occupied Constant. They dragged my wife away, and she never returned. Some times ago, someone requested me identify her corpse. I couldn't even recognize her. She had rotten so much that you wouldn't even call her the corpse. However, in the pockets of her clothes, there was still our old water bill. When she was still at the rental apartment, she had always missed her home. It was the same for my youngest daughter. I don't have much money now and can only barely maintain my life, but I wish to rebuild the house bit by bit. To be honest, I don't need to tell others about my misfortune. I'd rather stay silent, but if I can really get help with rebuilding efforts, then I can." Klein held a pen and paper, pretending to jot it down. He nodded gently and said, "Your wish will come true. Wait for me in front of the ruins of the house at Low Tide Street tomorrow." At the same time, he pushed a 1 solely note over. "This is for your drinks, my treat." The man's eyes flicked. He seemed to want to refuse it, but in the end, he still picked up the note. The next day, after sending his young daughter to the church school, he walked along the family path to the familiar Low Tide Street and saw the familiar house. In the chimney, its windows, its door, and the weeds on its walls hadn't changed at all. It was so familiar, as if beautiful female owners would open the door in the next second and walked to the 2 children out to welcome their father. The man was stunned, unable to believe that this was real. However, even if it was an illusion, he was willing to embrace it. After several days, Klein, who had completed a slew of familiar wishes, pushed open the window of the hotel, and snapped his fingers in the morning light fog. In the area of the city of overlooking Constant, Welch's father woke up out of habit due to his dream of his dead son and family. He walked to the balcony to take in the morning air. Under the light of dawn, he suddenly saw chimneys and blasted furnaces that resembled a forest. Along them were tall buildings. The former Constant City had presented itself to him, bathed in orange light of dawn. Wow. We brought Constant City back to its former self. That resembled, Forest of Miracles. Under the light of dawn, he suddenly saw chimneys that blast furnaces that resembled a forest. Along them were tall buildings. Fuck, man, this is such a good persona. What a fucking good character, man. Holy shit. This is his best character. I genuinely think this is Klein's best character. Just a man helping out the people, man. Just helping out the people of LOTM. Damn. Let's just read, man. Next chapter, chapter 1298, is called Departure. As the residents of Constant were stunned by the miracle in front of them, Klein had already carried his suitcase and left the city with the roads. After creating such a commotion, he was worried that Zaratul would lock onto his location, so he didn't dare to stay any longer. With his present level and strength, he wasn't too afraid of fighting Zaratul head-on. However, he didn't wish to... Get a little cocky, man. He didn't wish to be ambushed. For beyond of the seer pathway, being prepared and not completely different. Once Klein revealed his location and didn't leave in time, an unprepared him would end up facing Zaratul. He could imagine that even if he was now Sephira Castle's owner, and so had a 1 more resurrection chance, there was still also a huge risk of completely perishing. Furthermore, he is really careless. I mean, not careless, he's really careful. With his present level and strength, he wasn't too afraid to find. I just read this. Don't. We're about to loop. We're about to read that again. Furthermore, he didn't know what state Amon was in right now. Was he still being pursued by the true creator? Was it possible for him to suddenly appear by his side? And wait, where is Amon in this whole thing? Like, I'm sorry. What the fuck is this dude scheming? Was it possible for him to suddenly appear by the side and steal everything? Probably. Due to this thought, Klein once again embarked on his journey. In the basement of a house in Salvador County, the few Sequence 7 Beyonders of the Abraham family gathered here according to a prior agreement. That's pretty much it. Dorian Gray shared what Mr. Dorr had said in its entirety through his student force. Their years of exile and being sealed was enough to drive the ancestor crazy. He only occasionally regains lucidity. Even just directly speaking to him can result in mental corruption from his evil intent. True creator chasing after Amon. I don't know if I buy that. Maybe, I guess, because he stole the first blasphemy slate. That's the only thing I can think of. Even then, I feel like Amon would be good against the true creator. I feel like they're almost at equals. I know technically one is higher than the other, but knowing how cunning Amon is, I don't know, man. His evil intent, a man wearing a gold rimmed glasses looking like a university professor sighed. So that's the reason. His expression revealed some relief, as if he could finally admit the curse was a result of the ancestors' pleas for help. After a 1 second pause, the man said with a determined expression, "We have to think of a way to help the ancestor escape." Oh shit, escape. This way, our curse will be completely removed. Verdu, are you crazy? If a crazy king of angels returns, it will destroy the entire family. Dorian couldn't help but chide him. The man named Verdu looked at the other family members and said with a saloon expression, "That's why we have to hurry. While the ancestor still has a portion of his lucidity, we should let him..." No, we should not. We should let him return to the reward. Fuck that shit, dude. Once he escapes from his exiled, sealed state and has enough anchors, he will definitely gradually regain his rationality. Bro, once you go mad, it's GG. No. Dorian, you've degenerated. You no longer wish to restore the glory of our family, to allow us to return to the apex of the northern and southern continent. You only wish to live a stable and mediocre life. Besides, you can only be sure that Mr. Full will keep providing blessings. Perhaps one day he will be like the 7 deities who won't respond to most prayers. Dorian fell silent for a few seconds. However, the risk in the area will definitely be lower than helping the ancestor escape. Ever since I believed in Mr. Full and sincerely prayed to him, I haven't been affected by the full moon ravings for many months. If not for the fact that I'm no longer young, I'd even have the confidence of consuming a Sequence 6 scribe potion. Even so, given the time, I still have a good chance of advancing. If someone like me, who's older than a certain age, can do it, our next generation and their descendants will definitely be able to break free from our original restrictions and have a chance to becoming demigods. Hearing Dorian's words, the 2 men and 2 ladies other than Verdu nodded in agreement. They had already... I'm sensing something going on with Verdu here. They had already made some of their descendants believe in Mr. Full, and through a few months of observation, they were certain that it was effective. They were planning on praying to Mr. Full themselves. Noticing Verdu's nasty expression, Dorian softened his tone and said, "More importantly, we don't have the strength to complete the ritual at all. A demigod of any pathway is not easy to deal with. Among them, the corresponding demigods of the Seer and Marauder are cunning, bizarre, and dangerous. Even if we're willing to sacrifice ourselves and use a grade 0 sealed artifact, it's difficult to capture them." Verdu nudged his golden-rimmed spectacles and slowly exhaled. "I won't stop you from changing your faith to the full. If you can get that existence to help with the aid of the ancestors escape, that would be the best development. But before that, I will do my best to prepare the ritual. Dorian, you have to remember that the bloodline and glory of the Abraham family comes from the ancestor. Without him, there will be no us." But they're still hanging in there. "If this matter requires a sacrifice, then I'll do it." He stood up, put on his hat, and walked out of the basement. Dorian watched him leave and finally sighed. Verdu has been studying all kinds of mysticism information, hoping to find a way to completely resolve the family's curse. I believe that such persistence is already in his blood. The other Abraham family members nodded in unison. After he confirms that he can't complete the ritual, he should give up. They too hoped that Verdu would succeed, but they found it virtually impossible. On Blue Mountain Island, where Bane was located, the private harbor that originally belonging to the Resistance, a group of workers who had just finished laying the gas pipes were just about to find a place to rest and wait for the carriage sent by the Church of the Sea God to ferry them back to Bam, when they saw the half-giants purposely from the northern Phasic Islands carry heavy grayish white-toned materials. Each step left an imprint on the land. These workers had participated in the construction of harbors, cathedrals, and art museums, so they knew how heavy the grayish-white stone materials were. They remember that even without the help of logs, horses, and machinery, it was very difficult for people to transport such stone materials. Yet the half-giants held them as easily as holding toys. This display of strength was simply ridiculous. When Derek saw that the outer walls and some of the buildings of the towns had been built under the efforts of the City of Silver's reconnaissance team, he nodded and said to Livio and Candace, "It's time to return to the City of Silver and tell the chief about the situation here." Oh, we going back home? None of the members of City of Silver's reconnaissance team objected. They were very excited as they agreed with the Elder Derek's decision. I'm never going to get used to that. Elder Derek. Although they hadn't been here for long, they had long fallen in love with this new hometown. They had fallen in love with the warmth of the sun in the day and the peace of the crimson moon in the night. They couldn't wait to let their families and friends experience it and enjoy it. Upon seeing this, Derek subconsciously straightened his back. He controlled himself and didn't let his smile appear. He calmly said to Candace, "Come back to the City of Silver with me and tell the chief and the other elders of the 6-member council about the situation here. Oh, you two, Jinord Liavel, you're in charge of maintaining order here." He was worried that he wouldn't be able to convince the current chief, Waite Shermont and company, so he decided to bring 2 companions with him. After settling the corresponding matters, Derek led Candace and joined a secluded spot in the City of Silver. He lowered his head, clasped his hands, and prayed to Mr. Fool, making a wish to return to the City of Silver immediately. Without a sound, the scene around them became blurry, stretched, then immediately fixed, and quickly became clear. In front of their eyes, they saw a city wall with weeds fluttered in the air. In just a few seconds, Derek and his 2 support... How are we doing this? Again, I'm sorry. I thought we had to, like, go back to the entrance and then go through Giant King's Court. I'm sorry. How did we just make them teleport? Is Klein doing this? In just a few seconds, Derek and his 2 supporters returned to the entrance of the City of Silver. This is a miracle. Candace rubbed his eyes with a hand that wasn't holding a weapon and marveled from the bottom of his heart. Because I know Creeping Hunger has teleport, but I might be wrong. It's open now. Oh, because it's completely open, you can just teleport. It's linked to the Spur World. And since the Spur World and the real world are linked, you can kind of just... Wow. Oh, shit. Okay, I thought we, like, open and close it. No, I'm stupid. We left it open, but because it's been left open, now we can just zap in and out. Oh, shit. Okay. This is a miracle. Candace rubbed her eyes with a hand that wasn't holding a weapon and marveled from the bottom of her heart. She had imagined in many ways a return to the City of Silver, but she had never thought of returning so directly. To her, this was a miracle bestowed by a deity. Ginord shook the glass lantern in his hand and muttered without thinking, "This is much brighter than the beast-hide lantern." Before he could finish the sentence, he came to his senses and revealed a pure smile without a hint of gloominess. This time, they would be the messengers of dawn who would lead the resistance of the City of Silver out of the forsaken lands of the gods. Derek heaved a sigh of relief and maintained his stern expression. "Let's immediately find the chief and arrange for everyone to carry out the migration." He had heard of Mr. Hangman talk about many matters that failed to cust the success. He didn't wish for the City of Silver to have such an outcome. As such, all the other matters that had to be done as quickly as possible. When they passed through the door, the City of Silver residents in charge of the guard at the door looked curiously at the 3 scouts and saw a hope from their rosy, glowing faces. Did Olivia and the others not come back? Some asked squirrelingly, afraid that the other members of the reconnaissance team had already sacrificed themselves. Derek simply replied, "They've remained in the outside world to build a temporary camp." The guards didn't ask further, afraid that they would delay their time. They watched as Derek and company headed for their twin towers. Not long after, Derek, Candace, and Ginyard saw Chief Waite Shermont and the other members of the 6-member council. Dave described the key points of what they saw and heard in the outside world. They can't even fucking believe what they're saying, bro. That has to be it. At the end of the report, they even took out pocket watches, music boxes, and other exquisite machinery to prove it. The members of the 6-member council and the other 2.5-meter tall Waite Shermont, who had a tattooed symbol on his head, and Derek looked at each other and sighed. "Your experience is like a dream. No, I can't even dream of such a scene." With that said, he solemnly asked, "Has a dungeon meant to store the sealed artifacts been constructed?" That was the first building we completed. Derek gave an extremely clear answer. Waite nodded slightly and immediately issued an order. Get everyone to bring their necessary items and gathered at the training ground. Everybody's leaving. To prevent any accidents, we would directly pray to Mr. Full and ask him to transfer us over. Holy shit, everyone is going. Having said that, Wade pondered for a moment and said, "Mr. Fool has previously sent a revelation to let us wait for another 3 hours for the ancient survivors from Moon City to rendezvous." Oh, we're even helping them escape. Oh man, this is so good. Wait another 3 hours for the ancient survivors from Moon City to rendezvous with us. However, this doesn't affect our preparations ahead of time. Also, tell everyone that the environment in Moon City is very tough. Many of them have deformities. We have to look at them normally. Although the city of Silver had the black-faced grass and as their staple, they would eat the flesh of monsters from time to time to replenish their strength. This made them occasionally have deformed children, therefore everyone was no stranger to this phenomenon. Alright, the other members of the 6-member council responded without hesitation, revealing an irresistible, excited expression. This time, they no longer seeing the light, but were directly welcoming the day. You know what this reminds me of? The fact that Klein is starting to get all these people there, this reminds me of another specific series in a completely different way, by the way. But in Slime, reincarnated as a slime, eventually the MC, Rimuru, he starts getting his own people, builds a city, and then like he starts getting followers. He starts naming all his like underlings. Like he starts naming all the townsfolk, all the monsters that like want to be a part of his like team and all that. And I find it kind of reminiscing in here how like now like Klein, like the more we read, the more believers, the more followers, the more people are starting to like pray to the Fool, like Mr. And like it's so cool. It's like it's so comforting that I hope nothing bad happens at the end. Knock on wood. But let's keep reading and find out if that's true or not. All right, next chapter. I assume this chapter ends with everybody escaping from Moon City, and I assume maybe chapter 1299. Milk and what kind of chapter is this? Milk and honey. Oh, are they going to be drinking milk and then trying honey for the first time? The forsaken lands of the gods, Moon City. When Adol, Shin, and Russ heard the high priest's voice resound through the city, they became abnormally excited. They stood up almost at the same time and carried the beast hide bags that they had prepared earlier on their backs. Inside were distorted mushroom powder, dried mushrooms, and various monster leathers, as well as different beyond characteristics of different states. To them, even though they were excited and were full of hope for the future, the suffering they had been through made them take precautions. They tried their best to carry as much food as possible. A few flashes of lightning before, the priests of Moon City had received Mr. Fool's divine revelation and stopped sending out hunting teams. They also instructed every resident to pack their most important items and prepare to leave at a moment's notice. In less than a minute, Adol and company walked out of their houses with lanterns in hand and arrived on the streets. As their eyes met, their faces were either filled with tumors or deformities were filled with unconcealed joy. They had no negative emotions towards abandoning Moon City and leaving their hometown. This is the source of the nightmare. It was unknown how many generations of people had lost their happiness in their childhood. When they gathered at the square of the high platform, they suppressed their excitement and lined up in an ordinary manner, checking to see if the neighbors had already arrived. Soon, all the residents of Moon City arrived. High Priest Nim walked out of the platform and said with a smile, "Everyone, I received the divine revelation. We're fucking out! Mr. Full is about to help us leave this cursed land and obtain a new lease of life. Praise be to Mr. Full." He took the lead and pressed his right palm against his left chest. This was a gesture that had been invented to praise Mr. Full. They made a gesture, and Mr. Full hadn't objected to it. Praise Mr. Full. The residents of Moon City pressed their right palms to their left chest, expressing their gratitude and devotion. As their voices echoed, the gray-haired Nim raised his hand and lowered it for silence. "We'll head for the Moon City first. We'll head for the City of Silver first and meet with the survivors there. Then we'll head to the world of light together." Oh, man, look at the light seekers, bro. Let's go. Let's fucking go, man. Don't worry, Mr. Fool will protect us. Okay, shut your eyes and start to pray. With that said, the high priest clasped her hands and pressed them against his lips. He sincerely prayed to Mr. Fool, hoping that they might exist, hoping that the mighty existence could satisfy the greatest wish that the Moon City had accumulated over the past 2 to 3,000 years of generations. Wow, I am slurring my words because my mouth is salivating. So I wish I had dry mouth when I read, but I don't. I just keep salivating more and more. In the next second, the demigod of the Evernight Pathway accurately sensed the changes in the surroundings. He opened his eyes, surveyed the surroundings, and discovered that the stone pillars were becoming clearer. Lanterns hung on it as tall figures rapidly outlined. "This is the City of Silver. We've already arrived in the City of Silver. This is the might of the deity." Praise Mr. Full. Adol, Shin, and company quickly observed their surroundings. They subconsciously had a certain good impression of the City of Silver. As a missionary of God, His Excellency German Sparrow had once mentioned they had first arrived in the City of Silver after entering this cursed, forsaken lands. Too many L2M streamers at live, and I didn't have enough machines. Oh shit, really? Wait, what? Who else is live right now? This was the beginning of where God's brilliance spread out from the eternal darkness. It was the origins of all hope. The figures quickly became clear. Most of them were more than 2 meters tall. Their facial features and body were normal, and there were no signs of deformation. They, too, were sizing up the residents of Moon City with curious and wary gazes. Their oppressive height and envious of their normality made Shin, Russ, and the others nervous. They felt inferior and uneasy. However, with a sweep of their gaze, they saw quite a number of City Silver residents biting mushrooms that had roasted on the surface. From time to time, they would suck the hot liquid from white, full mushrooms. This familiar scene caused the people of Moon City to gradually relax as they treated these half-giants as their own. The chief of the 6-member council, Wade Shermont, nodded and said to them, who was supposedly the leader of Moon City, "Are you ready?" His gaze was calm and natural. He didn't look down on them because of their terrifying appearances. Afraid that an accident would happen, Nim immediately replied, "Ready and good to go." Wade Shermont immediately cast his gaze at the City Silver residents, finished their meal within 3 minutes, and began praying. In less than a minute, the residents of City Silver finished their milk and put away the remaining food in their hands. They sincerely prayed to Mr. Full. The miraculous descendants of the ancient survivors of Moon City made them more confident in leaving the forsaken lands of the gods. They truly believed in Mr. Fool. A few seconds later, everyone in the City Silver's training ground disappeared. Oh my god, they're all gone. The city was left completely silent. Soon the corrupted weeds would grow and monsters would wander around the streets and houses. In just a few blinks of an eye, the residents of the City Silver Moon City arrived in front of the Giant King's palace, which had the dusk frozen. This was a ritual that Klein had deliberately planned. It was to allow the ancient survivors of the forsaken lands of the gods to bid farewell to the past. Oh man, I'm about to cry. To bid farewell to the past. Shocked by the grandeur, epicness, and mystical impression of the Giant King's court, the residents of the City Silver subconsciously turned their heads and looked down and into the distance. Beyond the orange-red dusk, the ground was completely blanketed in darkness. Occasionally, lighting would flash across the sky, revealing the outline of the ancient buildings, towering mountains, and the deformed plants. As the lightning descended, darkness surged in again, devouring everything. Then the City of Silver and Moon City residents turned their heads and cast their gaze deep into the Giant King's palace. There was an open door, and outside the open was a blazing golden ocean. The people who were blinded by the sunlight immediately felt their surroundings become blurry, and the scene quickly shattered. The fragments quickly resembled, turning into a deep blue ocean. The smell of fish, oh man. The smell of fish, striking sounds, and the orange-red sun, they had yet to come close to the horizon. The residents of Moon City and the City of Silver looked around in shock and anticipation. They saw the luxuriant forest that was distorted at all. They saw the stone buildings that had yet to have been refurbished. They saw livio and company and saw the path towards the harbor and the ship that was docked there. Many people's vision turned blurry, as though they were undergoing the catharsis of the holy light. They could clearly sense that there was no depravity, filth, or mysterious powers here. Oh, I'm about to cry, man. This is fucking beautiful, dude. Oh shit. Most of the City of Silver and Moon City residents lowered their heads and knelt to the ground, praising Mr. Fold loudly as they kissed the sweet smelling soil. It wasn't that the others weren't grateful to Mr. Fold, but they were still spellbound by such a scene. Every fiber of their being was shocked. After recovered from their initial shock, Livio went up to meet his wife and daughter. As he approached, he couldn't hold back his excitement and joy. He opened his mouth, waiting to tell his wife and children what he had seen and heard during this period of time. However, he realized that there were just too many things he wanted to share. Like countless rushing rivers, they surged to his throat and blocked his voice. After a few seconds, Livio and said, we have a new... Oh, I'm about to cry, bro. We have a new home. Before he could finish the sentence, the nearly 2.5 meter tall half-giant hurriedly reached his hand into his pocket and extended it towards his wife and daughter. This is given to us by the oracle, milk candy. All of them say it's delicious. A smile appeared on Livio's face. I got a tear in my eye, bro. Oh, shit. This is given. There was 2 objects which was the size of a thumb and wrapped in thin sheets of papers. Its surface was wrinkled, having soaked in a little sweet, milky candy. Livio's wife didn't quite understand the term. It was a new word in Jotun that mixed milk and honey. Oh, the chapter. Oh, it's the sweets they eat. Their daughter was infected by her father's emotions. She boldly took the candy and was about to stuff it into her mouth. No, you have to peel off the... She doesn't know. You have to peel off the outer layer. Leoval hurriedly took back the 2 milk candies and peeled off the wrapper before handing one to each his wife and daughter. His daughter bit down the ground, her teeth forcefully producing a cracking sound. This moment made the dead inside Wiz cry on stream. It made the dead inside of him. Does he not cry or what? I need to look. Let's look at that after. I need to see how he reacted. She narrowed her eyes and slowly, as her expression gradually became more intoxicated. During this process, she couldn't bear to even speak. Seeing her daughter's behavior, Livio's wife ate the candy. She felt that this was a very precious thing. She didn't bite it to pieces directly, but used her oral cavity to wrap around it. Man, they're gonna cavities, man. They should be careful. They gotta chill. Take it slow, man. She didn't bite it to pieces directly, but used her oral cavity to wrap around it and let it slowly melt away. The indescribable milk fragrance and sweetness slowly spread out, intoxicating Livio's wife. When Livio saw this, his smile widened as he said what he had been left stuck in his throat. The oracle said that we can find a job in Bayham City, receive commissions, and earn gold pounds. That way we can buy more milk. We can buy more milk candy. We can also sell beyond our characteristics and monster leather. We have no need for the Church of Sea God. Sea God and Mr. Fool, subsidiary god. It'll be dark soon. I'll bring you to the beach to watch the sunset. Oh my god. It's really beautiful. I visit it every day. I've always been waiting to bring the two of you there when you arrive. I'm fucking crying, man. It's finally done. My anchor has stabilized significantly. Furthermore, granting the wishes of the City of Silver and Moon City has allowed me my Miracle Invoker potion to digest quite a bit now. However, it isn't as much as restoring constancy. Indeed, being a god of wishes isn't the most accurate form of acting. Above the great fog, Klein slowly exhaled and threw the staff of stars back onto the junk pile. Following that, he would continue wandering and creating miracles. He would occasionally head to the Forsaken Lands of the Gods and transform some monsters into marionettes to prepare for the subsequent ritual. Oh, the city. As for the next stage of acting as a miracle invoker, Klein planned on accumulating wishes of changing appearances and figures to solve the deformities of Moon City, thereby creating a miracle. This isn't too difficult. Many maidens and ladies have a wish to remove acne, have double eyelids, and make their noses sharper. I have a way to do it. This way, by accumulating simple to difficult, it will just take a matter of time It will just take a matter of time to treat the deformed people of Moon City. In the outside world, they will feel even more inferior. Klein mumbled inwardly before he suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly. In that case, I can call myself the ruler of beauty industries. My man's gonna be doing Botox next, huh? I can call myself the ruler of beauty industry, the guardian of architects and the construction workers, the miracle creator of long distance travel. After entering the waters that didn't have a safe sea route, Queen Mr. Bernadette? Okay, wait, what the fuck is it? Oh, this is her next arc with Roselle. After entering the waters that didn't have a safe sea route, Queen Mystic Bernadette seemed to have lost her sense of the time. If not for the precise wall clock in her captain's cabin, she definitely would have forgotten how many days it had been since she entered this perilous region. The violent winds and torrential rains made the boat fly up from time to time, sometimes growing and getting thrown to the side, as if it was a previous to the impending apocalypse. Bernadette watched calmly as she waited patiently without interfering with the dawn situation. After some time, the storm finally calmed down. At this moment, a black outline appeared in the distance. Ooh! Is it one of the Lord of Plastic Surgery? Wasn't it one of Roselle's like missing mausoleums that he hid out at sea? Is that what that is? Is that what she's seeing? All right, overall thoughts, man. I love the series. Like, I don't even know what to say, man. I fucking love the series. It's such a damn good series, man. Somebody was asking, like, yo, you've read a lot. What are your favorite series or, like, your favorite volumes of all time? It's so hard to think, man. The Unknown Island? Oh, man, it's going to be good. So I assume the next 10 chapters is on this island, and I assume that should be read together. Heads up, it might have to be a 2-part thing, just depending on time. I kind of do want to stream at least a little bit tomorrow before game day, you know, or maybe like I can miss the first hour of the game again. We'll see. I mean, it's been 2 hours. It's been an hour and a half, but we'll see what happens. And then Saturday, I'll be busy in the morning and at night. So I'm free like midday. Can't cut it. Fuck, we can't cut it. All right. We'll see what happens. I think we can do it. 9 chapters. We can do that. We can do like 3 hours. If not tomorrow, we can probably do like 3 hours Saturday. Deck Story is the best. I love it, man. I am so happy, not only for Derek, but like everybody from Moon City and City Silver. Like, bro, like they deserve nothing but like happiness, and like that's all they need. It was getting me mad at how funny and accurate that meme was. Like Derek's backstory, like anytime we're with Derek and anytime we're with Audrey. Like it's about damn time Derek gets some peace and quiet. And I'm not saying that's all Audrey has had, but like growing up in like, you know, that crazy luxurious lifestyle, it's crazy, man. And then like over here, Derek is like suffering and shit. And I am so happy for the City of Silver. But I do find it cool how like now Klein has like all these believers and followers, right? Now he's probably gonna have a shitload of fucking anchors once he becomes a Sequence Zero. Maybe book 2 is like him being like an outer deity. And then it's like, now it's like Klein is fighting the greater battle against the outer deities out there in the world, and then like the new MC in like book 2 is taking care of like the main world issues. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That being said though, I'm gonna let you guys go. You guys have a beautiful, amazing day. Peace. And I'll see you guys very soon.